is this?
This is mine.
I do not believe it.
Where did you get that bracelet? The billionaire's voice cut through the laughter at the dinner table. His son froze, his girlfriend's hand trembled, and in that moment, the secret of a lifetime clawed its way back into the light. Asterisk the Blackwell. A state glowed with chandeliers, the marble floor gleaming like ice. It was the first time Ethan Blackwell, son of billionaire Richard Blackwell, had brought a woman home. Her name was Maya. She wasn't dressed in diamonds or designer silk. She wore a simple black dress, her hair tied neatly, her presence graceful. Ethan's heart raced with pride, but also fear. He knew his father valued lineage, power, reputation, not love. Still, Ethan believed in her. And tonight, he would prove she belonged. The whispers began the moment Maya entered. Relatives in gowns and tuxedos exchanged smug smiles. Some murmured about her background. Others scanned her every move as if she were an intruder. Richard Blackwell sat at the head of the table, his sharp blue eyes studying her with cold curiosity. He was a man who could unnerve boardrooms with silence, and now he was dissecting Maya with his gaze, but Maya held her composure. She smiled, offered polite greetings, and carried herself with a quiet dignity that only unsettled Richard more. The meal unfolded, champagne poured, silver cutlery clinked, and artificial laughter filled the air. Then, as Maya reached for a glass, her sleeve slid back. The light caught something, a silver bracelet, old but elegant, engraved faintly on the inside. Richard's hand froze mid-air, his eyes widened in horror. Ethan noticed it too, his chest tightening, because he had seen that bracelet before. It belonged to Isabelle Blackwell, his twin sister, who vanished 2 decades ago. Where did you get that bracelet? Richard demanded, his voice trembling. The room fell silent. Maya looked down at her wrist, confused by the sudden tension. It was my mother's, she said softly. She gave it to me before she passed. She said it was the only thing left of someone she once loved. Ethan's heart pounded. His sister's name was engraved inside that bracelet. Isabelle. Forever my belle. Maya had grown up with little. Raised by her mother, Grace, she had lived in poverty, working jobs from a young age to survive. The bracelet was her only connection to a past she didn't understand. Now, in the heart of unimaginable wealth, it had become the center of a storm. The Blackwell family had a buried tragedy. 20 years ago, on a family trip abroad, Isabelle disappeared. The story made headlines worldwide. The kidnapped heiress, the grieving family, the empire shaken. But after years of searching, no answers came. Isabelle was declared lost. For Richard, it became a wound he never acknowledged. He buried his grief under power, building his empire higher, louder, stronger, pretending the pain no longer existed. And yet here sat Maya, wearing Isabelle's bracelet. Ethan was torn apart. He loved Maya with every piece of his heart. But if she was connected to Isabelle, what did that mean? He demanded answers. He begged Maya for details. She resisted. At first, her life had been one of survival, not digging up old ghosts. But Ethan's desperation broke her. She admitted her mother, Grace, had worked once as a live-in staff member for a wealthy family abroad. She never told Maya the details, only that she had been betrayed and cast aside, left to raise her daughter alone. Ethan's breath caught. Could Grace have been tied to his family? Richard, unable to deny the storm brewing inside him, ordered tests in secret. DNA samples, medical histories, old records. He threw his wealth into uncovering the truth. Weeks later, the results returned. Maya wasn't just anyone. She was Isabelle. His daughter. The bracelet had carried the truth all along. Ethan's world collapsed. He confronted his father, his voice breaking with rage. You knew something like this could be true, and yet you let me fall in love with her blindly. Richard tried to explain, but the truth was darker than Ethan imagined. Isabelle's disappearance had never been random. She hadn't been stolen by strangers. She had been taken away, hidden, because her existence threatened the empire. Grace, the housekeeper Richard once loved in secret, had been forced out. Isabelle was raised in silence, while Richard climbed higher. The billionaire's empire had been built on lies, and now those lies had returned in the form of Maya. Maya now. Isabelle stood in the center of the storm. "You let my mother die in poverty," she whispered, trembling. "You let me grow up without knowing who I was, while you lived like a king. You had everything, and I had nothing." Her words cut deeper than any blade. Guests gasped, some in shock, some in shame. Richard could not meet her eyes. "You call yourself a father?" she said, her voice breaking. "You destroyed yourself the moment you abandoned us." News spread like wildfire. Billionaire's missing daughter returns. But behind the headlines was devastation. Investors fled. Allies turned cold. The empire Richard built began to crumble under lawsuits and scandals. Ethan left the estate, shattered by betrayal and heartbreak. Maya chose not to claim the Blackwell name. She walked away from the empire, determined to honor her mother's memory. Instead of basking in stolen wealth, Richard remained in the mansion, a titan reduced to silence, staring at the empty chair where Isabelle should have been all those years. For the first time, the man who owned everything realized he had nothing.